Deuce has a golden opportunity on Saturday. How did he do with it?
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast, live edition with my two guys, Zach Blackerby, Daryl Dapprich, and we're fired up to be back again all together and talking about A-Day, Deuce's golden opportunity. Unfortunately, it came at Jackson Arnold having a little bit of a hammy tweak. But how did he look in everything that went along with him getting all those reps? And then Perry Thompson kind of steals the show as far as highlight reel play after highlight reel play and so many other things that went on A-Day that we're going to discuss. But before we do that, real quick, got to give a shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Yes. Use coupon code TheBarn25 for a 25% off your online order. If you live in the state of Alabama and you want to try an awesome salsa with a little southern kick and you live near a Publix, you can try it out there. If not, you got the website. You can go online and save big. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. Zach, Daryl, one of the headlines from A-Day, which was no surprise if you remember at the barn, Auburn.com, was that Jackson Arnold had tweaked his hammy the day before and just did not participate at all. I think Hugh even said there was really no point in pushing it. You didn't want to aggravate it any further, but he's okay. He's A-okay. It's going to be fine. It was just one of those precautionary things. It gave, though, Deuce Knight the opportunity to really be the whole show. Basically, he got all the first team reps. I want y'all to talk about what you saw out of Deuce and what you liked, what you didn't like, and just overall impressions of Deuce and how he handled sort of being the center of attention. Daryl, Zach,
you go first, Dap.
Whoever wants to go first, because I wasn't there.
Yeah, he looked to me like I expected a true freshman to look. I think at times he showed flashes and you saw how really, really special he's going to be. Things like arm strength, athletic ability. I really liked what he made a nice read at the 5-yard line, kept it, walked into the end zone. He's got all the athleticism, all the charisma. I mean, the moment, even in a situation like that, getting all the snaps and getting in the different packages, he didn't look like he was intimidated or wide-eyed. There's not much you can tell until the bullets start flying for real. But then he also made some decisions that a true freshman makes, threw into double coverage, was late on some throws. See, the thing with him is he has got such elite arm talent that he'll learn that you can't – that's not a high school throw anymore where you could zip that in there. He's going to have to, throw it away, live to play another play. That'll come with experience. But he's so talented that he thinks he can make that play. So discretion a little bit, I think. But I kind of saw it all there, the total package, and then sometimes where he'd look like the true freshman with some of the decision-making.
Yeah, I love the way that Justin Ferguson put it in his newsletter that he sent out this morning. He said Deuce Knight is a 5-star freshman, and it was very clear on both of those things. Yes, he looked like a 5-star as far as the way he threw the football and didn't just physically, in stature. He's put on weight and developed already even since he stepped foot on campus and after being an early enrollee. And then he looked like a freshman at times. But, man, there were some of those balls that were just put on a dot, thrown on a rope. And, Daryl, you and I were talking about it. We were sitting next to each other in the box. Like, that ball gets from point A to point B quickly, in a hurry, like a laser. And so, yeah, I love the point that you made about how he's been able to do that at the high school level, and defenses are going to be more complex at this level. Obviously, the level of competition is going to be, significantly higher. I think the most symbolic one of all of this was the throw towards the back of the end zone. He's got a guy that's coming across the field, and the safety's just standing there. It was Eric Winters. He barely even had to move. and he caught it. So, you know, the traits are absolutely there. He's going to be a really good quarterback. No question about it.
I guess towards the end of last week, I talked about it on one of my shows. It seemed like the classic Auburn preseason was starting to happen to where we were starting to manufacture a quarterback controversy. Now, I know that we didn't get to see Jackson, so don't really have anything to go off as far as what we've seen publicly. Do you think Deuce did anything to help himself, hurt himself, or I guess in this whole talk about should he or should he not be, I guess the starting quarterback in 2025?
No, I think he's pretty much right where he was going into that. I'm not even going to call it an A day, that scrimmage day, practice day. I think that there was definitely, like I said, flashes, but then there were the other things that he's going to have to work on, and so I don't think he's made up ground or lost ground. I think Jackson Arnold is your starter, and I think Deuce Knight, however he played Saturday, didn't do anything either way.
One way or the other.
I will say this. I'm not a quarterback coach. I don't coach quarterbacks in high school or in college, but I've watched a lot of quarterbacks throw because I'm old for a long time, and I've watched a lot from the sidelines. What he has in the way of arm talent is God-given and can't be taught. And I'm going to say this, for Auburn fans that are frustrated from watching that hash mark to hash mark out throw, the deep out, maybe the 15, 20-yard out, not get there in time, get picked, get short hopped. When he finally becomes Auburn's quarterback, that's not going to be an issue anymore because he
better cover the whole field.
Yes, and he puts it on a line that gets from, like Zach said, from point A to point B. And that may be cross the field from hash to hash on a 20-yard dig or a 20-yard out. I'm just not used to seeing an Auburn quarterback put it in a way where you can hang laundry on it. And that's what it looks like.
He's got an NFL arm as far as the strength of it goes, 100%. 100%. I agree with you, Daryl. And we got to be careful with this, but like this was, in the eyes of the coaching staff, this was just another practice. And for the media that was able to attend the full practice on Thursday, it supposedly looked like the exact same thing that they got to see. And so to me, I don't think it does anything. I don't think anything changed, but I do think what we saw Saturday maybe confirmed some of the narratives that we've had throughout A-Day, like Deuce is ahead of schedule. Like, yeah, okay, I could see that. Or, some of the defensive linemen that we've been hearing good things about is like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. These receivers, like hearing good things about the receivers, like, yes, okay, all that makes sense. I think it confirmed a lot of things. I don't think anybody gained or lost ground on Saturday, but I do think it confirmed a lot of the storylines that we've been kind of hearing and passing on over the last month or so.
How did they handle him running? Like, was it like if they got close to him, they blew it dead? And then, like, could you see if he was allowed to run, like, oh my God, that would have been a giant gain? Like, how did they handle?
They let him hold on to the ball. They let him hold on. And a few of his, like, one of the Perry catches, like, he rolled out and, like, he probably wouldn't have been able to do that like, if there was an actual rush. But, yeah, they let him hold on to it.
Yeah, he extended that play longer than I think it would have been extended in real time. I will say this. We were along the goal line underneath the goalpost on a 1st and goal from the 5 when I'm referring to the read option that he ran, and it didn't look like anybody slowed up on him on that or let him. I mean, he literally ran it just like he normally would from the 5-yard line and got from the 5 to the goal line quicker than I could turn around and look at Zach and say, "You think he keep?" And he scored. I mean, and we all said, okay, that's nice to see, and he's so big physically that I think he's one of those guys that if he even gets hit at the 2, remember how Cam, and look, he's not Cam Newton. So before people start going nuts, it's just nice to see a quarterback, I think, with his size and when he hits may fall forward.
There you go. How many drives was Cam able to extend by a half a yard just by, again, hit and going forward? Yeah, I'm with you. Hopefully he likes contact like Cam did because Cam loved to deliver a lick. Yeah, I can't wait to see what he looks like when he's actually able to run, and it's like live. I know you can't get a lot from that, but to me, that's where his playmaking ability just goes even higher. One of the highlights, I guess, showstoppers from what I understand. Again, I wasn't there, so I'm just catching up by what you guys were saying, what I saw on Twitter. It seemed like Perry Thompson had a dadgum day. Had a day, made a couple of highlight reel catches. Looked like, hey, I'm not going away easy. I'm here to play.
Yeah. I'll share this. It's funny because in the press box, I forgot my binoculars. So Auburn started their passing drills on the opposite field, the opposite side of the field where we were sitting in the press box. And they're doing this, all these players do this thing with their jersey where they bunch it up and curl it up. And you can't tell a 1 from a 2 from a 3 I couldn't tell crap. So I see Deuce extend on that play and make a throw to the back of the end zone. And I see one of the most gorgeous catches I've ever seen. And I said, man, I looked at Zach. I said, Singleton is the real deal, isn't he? And Shelly Poe, who's the SID, was sitting next to me. She said, that was Perry. And I was like, what? We couldn't tell. You can't tell the number. So that goes to show you the athletic ability that he was putting on. And then the very next play to the corner of the end zone, he made another circus catch. So he really, the physicality and the physical attributes and the gifts were really shining through Saturday.
Yeah, and there was another play he had where he was targeted. I believe Deuce was at quarterback. And it was kind of just like an out route. It was a shorter route, and he went up and got it on K and Lee. And it was a true 50-50 ball. It was a true battle. And Perry went up and got it. That one's not going to get, the level of attention because it wasn't a touchdown. It was a 6-yard play. But a 6-yard play on first down like that is what separates Auburn from where they were a year ago because they were constantly behind the chains. So I think Perry probably definitely won 8A, I guess. Like if we were doing like what we normally do with an offensive MVP and a defensive MVP.
Don't give him the MVP. Do not give him the MVP because
is that a curse?
That is a curse. That is a 100% curse.
But who got it last year?
Exactly.
I'm sure Cam Coleman got it last year.
No, it was Towns Magoo because it was rain fest and he kicked every one and made every one of his field goals.
I think Cam may have gotten it last year, but it does seem like I can name several where it seemed like walk-ons would get it.
You're right. You're right.
And stuff like that. But no, that's great. Zach, you mentioned earlier in the week you and Brad Law were talking about wide receivers, and I thought you made a really good point, and you were complimenting the depth of the room, and you talked about how you felt like there was going to be a legitimate 5 wide receiver rotation to where they may not all equal yards, but you're going to have 5 guys. You think you could go 5 deep as far as a significant number of snaps. And Perry was initially not in your 5. And I know again, it's just a practice. It's only one practice. Do you feel any different about that?
We labeled them as like receivers that would be relevant in the offense.
Yes.
And I told Brad when we were having this conversation, it's like you can define relevant however you want, whether it's production. I kind of went with snap counts, like the 5 guys who are going to play. And I think there's going to be a drop off after that. I still think it's the same 5. I still think it's Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton, Malcolm Simmons, Sam Turner, and Horatio Fields. I still think it's those 5. The issue is Perry is slotted behind Cam Coleman, and I just don't see a whole lot of situations where he's going to be taken off the field.
Yeah.
They're putting Horatio and Turner on the other side, rotating with Singleton, and Singleton is also playing in the slot. So when he goes to the slot, Horatio or Turner are getting those reps. So I don't think it's all about ability. I think a lot of this is just about situation and how the offensive coaching staff is choosing to use these guys.
From what I saw yesterday, I want to make 2, just kind of assumptions that could or can. Number one, first assumption is I don't see how the coaching staff cannot keep Perry Thompson off the field. If he evolved like we think we saw yesterday, they're not going to be able to keep him off the field. And I think probably, so that to my second point is, it makes me wonder if the coaching staff could have foreseen this or saw the leap that he was going to potentially make, if they would have even went out and bothered to get Horatio Fields to begin
That's
with.
a good question.
And I know they love him, because I heard Hugh say, man, did we hit a home run getting Horatio in the portal? But it just makes you wonder if they'd have even pursued him to begin with, if they knew that Perry Thompson was going to make that. Nobody ever doubts the ability or the talent. It's, did the light bulb come on? And I want to go back to something that,
well, real quick there before we move away from that. When you say they're not going to be able to keep Perry off the field.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I think he moves up the depth chart somehow as far as the number of snaps he's going to get.
So let's go through. So my thesis statement, I guess,
this is such a tough question you're about to ask. I know where you're going.
Is there going to be 5 guys and there's going to be a drop off, right? And so last year there were 4 guys in a drop off. KLS had 623 snaps. Cam Coleman had 551. And then Robert Lewis had 294 somehow. And then Malcolm Simmons had 292. And then there was a drop off to Camden Brown at 179. So if the offense is somewhat similar as far as proportions goes, we're talking about Sam Turner, Horatio Fields getting that 5th amount of snaps. That's 179. And then the next one was Perry, funny enough, with 100 snaps. So my question to you is, do all those numbers get larger? Because I do think Auburn will run more plays in 2025 than in 2024. But still, I don't expect the ratio or the proportions of total snaps played by wide receivers to change that much.
Well, first of all, I think the pie is getting bigger. I think Auburn not only runs more plays this year, I think they run more pass plays this year than they did. I think the pass to run ratio is going to be 5 to 10% greater this year than it was last year, just from the sole purpose of, do they even know what they got in the running back room? So if there's more balls in the air, so to speak, there's going to be more receptions by everybody. I think Perry Thompson gets more balls, gets more snaps, maybe at the expense of a Sam Turner. And it looks different because not only is Auburn going to run more plays, a proportion of those more plays will be more passing plays, if that makes sense. So not only is the pie bigger, the passing pie slice is bigger than the running pie slice.
I don't think that's going to, unless Hugh Freeze done something that he hasn't done before, which I think he should. He would have to change his personnel, though, I think, to make this look different. And so
you got to have more. I think you got to have more receivers on the field.
I hope that's what happens.
Yeah,
I hope they run less 12 personnel. I hope they run less 2 tight end sets. I'm there with you.
Yep.
I think that would have to happen, for Daryl, for what you're saying to be true. And I hope it does. I'm not predicting it, but I hope that it does.
Well, let me ask you guys this. If you looked at what on the offensive side of the ball, let's just go 4 position group: receivers, tight ends, offensive line, running backs. What do you consider to be probably the least experienced, least proven, weakest position group that I just mentioned?
Running backs.
Running backs or tight ends.
I guess running backs or tight ends. Yeah, I'd flip.
So if it's tight ends, why would you put 2 out there? You're not playing to your strengths.
Yeah.
Receiver is your best room. Put more of them out there. It ain't rocket science. I mean, that's where I would get frustrating as an Auburn fan if you tried to force a package with, 2 back, 2 tight end sets, and they're your 2 weakest rooms.
So to go back to Perry, and somebody just said it, Connie for AU just said it in the chats. The red shirt comment Freeze made me uncomfortable, talking about he was asked about Perry having a good 8A practice. And he went back to that thing that he said all last offseason when he was asked about Perry Thompson. It was, well, A.J. Brown got redshirted. DK Metcalf got redshirted. Sometimes it takes time or whatever. I'm like, okay. But that wasn't really the question, though. Like, the question was, like, has Perry taken that step forward? And he still kind of danced around it. Like, he gave him some flowers, but could have given him way more. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it made me think this was, was this sort of out of the ordinary, an out of the ordinary day from what they've seen from him maybe the rest of the spring. That's kind of maybe the
I don't know.
direction I thought he was going, but I don't. I like you said, it is kind of strange. I want to get off of wide receivers for a second and go to what we were kind of touched on just a second ago. We got a super chat that asked about it too. I'm kind of worried about the talent at the running back room compared to pass backs, Hunter, Bigsby, etc. That was one of the things I wanted to talk to you. That's NH3425, one of our regulars. Guys, from what I understood or from what I read and from some of y'all's notes, wasn't a lot of room running the ball. What do you think about this question and then the running backs in general?
Well, it's a valid point. It's one of the rooms that I really, really am very curious about. I do believe, and Zach laughs at me every time I say this, but I do believe we have an incomplete grade on the running backs yet because we haven't seen what Darrell Robinson can do. I just know that Hugh Freeze called him a do-it-all back like he did, how surprised he was with Damari Alston a couple years ago. I think the running back room doesn't have to be the type of running back rooms we've had in the past because I think the philosophy and the offense has changed. And I believe there's going to be running lanes and open spaces because Auburn's going to throw it effectively with the receivers to where we're going to see a flip where the passing game is going to set up the running game and there's going to be open running lanes and some space to operate because they're respecting the pass so much. And I think all three of those guys, albeit none of them maybe NFL prospects. I don't know. I'm not ready to give up on Cobb yet because I've been enamored with him since he was a freshman. But all three of them are very capable of being solid. And I think in this offense, that might be all you need.
I'm with you. I agree with the poster though. I have been concerned about that, but like you said, I think you're going to throw it more anyway this year, regardless.
Yeah, right. And I mean, we all kind of said like you got Jarquez Hunter, and he didn't use him enough and now I don't think he'll have that pressure for sure. I've been wording it as I have questions about the running back room, not concerns, but I do have questions. Darrell Robinson is interesting, and he's being talked about as if he's coming in and he's this big physical back. And like, he's not afraid of contact by any means, but like I think he's the same weight as Damari is. I think they're like both like right at 200 or 205 or whatever. So like I still am a little concerned with you're on like the 3-yard line, you can't get it in. And I guess that's when you look at Jackson Arnold and say like, hey, you got to be that, but you want to be able to pound it in with your back too if you need to, especially in 4th yard. And those are the situations that Auburn was so bad at a year ago. Those key downs where you need to convert, whether it's 3rd down on the 50-yard line, you're trying to keep an important drive alive, or if you're trying to score in the red zone. That's where Auburn wasn't good a year ago. And from a personnel standpoint on the running back room, like I do think that's one area where you could be concerned.
I'm with you. I kind of feel the same thing. Let's go to special teams. Let's hit special teams and then we'll go to defense. It sounded like, first of all, just him being able to kick in general was a headline. Alex being healthy. I think somebody released that picture. I think Rick Carley maybe from Birmingham was going to did a piece on him and released a picture of him that showed him at, I guess, the weight that he was when he got to like his lowest. And for him to be kind of back, had a procedure, seems to be a little bit more healthy, able to gain some weight, and he actually kicked, and I think he did really well. Just talk about special teams, anything that jumped out to you on special teams.
It's very rare because it's not the, marquee position. It's not the thing that everyone's looking at, but it cost Auburn a couple of football games last year. So it has to be taken very seriously. And I think I watched just how he looked physically, and he looked stronger. He looked like he had gained weight. And then he missed a 52-yarder that we were standing, Zach, right next to the goalpost, and it was about 5 or 6 yards up the goalpost. He just hit it. He literally he doinked it off the goalpost. But when he kicked it, it made a nice sound. That sound that you can tell the differentiator when someone strikes. He's striking the ball very well, strong leg. You give him another 3 or 4 months when the season starts, and I think that was very, very key. And then I'll let Zach talk about his punter friend.
Hudson Cock.
Yes.
Deep.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to consistently pin opposing offenses deep. I mean, you could definitely tell early on in the day he was punting from like the 50-ish or maybe the 40 or 45, like going in, and you could tell that they were working on, you know, placement and touch and getting the ball down there, and it was consistently inside the 10, which is exactly what you want. And the Gunners were able to get down there. That's when Eric Singleton was fielding the punts, and I guess when he tweaked his hamstring, which is super unfortunate. And then, you know, later when he had more field to kick into, I mean, he was punting the crap out of it. So that's exactly what you want to see.
Eric Singleton returning punts. That's
electric.
That gets me going.
Dynamic.
Daryl, you made a good point. That's an example of trying to get your best player touches. And you said that on the barn, and I thought that really rings true. I mean, get that guy the ball as many times as you can in as many ways as you can. And boy, oh boy, are we due an electric punt returner or what? I'm so ready to not close my eyes and pray to the gods that we're just going to call a fair catch and field a punt. I can't wait to actually.
Can you guys recall?
excited.
I mean, because I'm usually pretty good. Can you guys recall the last time Auburn had a punt returner that when you felt like it got kicked to him, he could house it, that there was that anticipation of it happening?
Chris Davis was one.
Keontae
Scott, in his first year returning punts, was pretty electric. I think he led the SEC. In punt returns. But
I called it against Arkansas. I called my shot. I said, Keontae Scott's going to run one back, and he did.
You nailed
But
it.
there's been way more horror stories in between then than there's been success stories. So
yeah.
I think a new special teams coach is going to kind of fly under the radar, but I think it's going to be a big deal.
Sure, it could be. All right, let's hit defense and wrap it up. The big things that I saw. They nailed the freshmen. They nailed the freshmen. The freshman safeties are elite, and they keep hitting on these guys. The hit ratio on the defensive side of the ball has been incredible. And I think Fagan's had 2 picks, and then Winters had a pick as well. Am I correct on that? Or
yes.
I know Fagan's had at least one. I think he ended the scrimmage maybe with an interception. Just talk about guys that stood out there. I love these safeties, man.
Well, you think about this: Sylvester Smith, Caleb Harris, Fagans, and Winters. And I remember watching Terrence Love in a goal line package, and he was in the game, and thinking to myself, and this turned out to be really ironic about 2 hours later, how's that joker going to get on the field?
Yeah.
You know, and I looked at Zach at one point and said, your boy's out there. I forgot about Sylvester Smith. And he's like, dude, he may not even start. And I'm going, wow. I mean, that goes to show you the depth. And then Love enters the portal 3 hours after A-Day. He must have signed some kid's placard and left.
Tay Seymour, who's this dude? I'm like, I think did we just recruit him to get Eric Singleton, his roommate? Like,
didn't he have an interception as well?
He had an interception. Yeah.
Safety room's crazy. The defensive backs in general are absurd.
Safety room is crazy.
Very physical. I mean, again, we're 5-6 yards away from him, so you can see the physicality when in a package when they're on the 5-yard line and he's able to, hand check the receiver. Man, that dude's physical.
Shout out Thomas Jones with the super chat. I didn't see your question though, Thomas, or your comment. So if you got one,
let us know. Absolutely.
Other guys.
And then the corner room is deeper than the safety room somehow, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely stacked. I mean, I keep hearing stuff about Strader. I keep hearing stuff about Donovan Starr. I mean, it's okay. JJ Stevens, we are hyping up the defense, right?
Currently.
Just give me a second to talk corners, and we're all going to be juiced, okay? No, there was Kayan Lee is so interesting because it sounds like he's been getting beat throughout spring. And I love Kayan Lee. I love his game. The issue is when you defend Auburn's wide receivers, you're having to defend giants.
Yeah.
And all of these incredible plays that these receivers made in this practice or whatever, they're awesome, but there's not a lot of space. And the whole point of like pass defense is you want pressure everywhere. You want pressure on the quarterbacks. You want to make it difficult to throw. You want to make it difficult for the offensive line to block. So you do different stunts and different moves. And then obviously with the receivers, you want to give them as little of a window to operate and move their arms and all that. These guys, even when they're losing reps, they are suffocating these wide receivers. And in every matchup, except for maybe 1 or 2 games on the schedule, that's going to be enough. That's going to be enough.
I couldn't tell who it was, and this is to your point. And I saw the highlight of it. So there was when Deuce threw the back shoulder to Cam, and it looked like 21. It looked like it was Anquan Fagans. It looked like number 21 was on him, and I don't know why that would be the case, but and I may be wrong there. That there was no space. There was no space. Like it's unbelievable that he actually made the catch. To your point, Zach, they're draped all over him. And these guys are still making plays. I think the key is going to be with guys like Kane Lee is going to be, hey, don't let this kill your confidence. You know what I mean? Like, don't let this get to where it's in your head now that, hey, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with you because you're guarding freaks and you're all over them. And 85% of the receivers you're going to face this year probably aren't going to be able to make the same plays that Cam Coleman can make, that Sam Turner can make, that some of these receivers, Eric Singleton, these guys can make. So I think that's going to be the biggest key is like, hey, if you get beat, it's cool. Don't worry about it.
And most teams aren't going to have multiple. Like you can put Jay Crawford on, the one and then move Can on maybe, the smaller, shiftier guy. I think I like that matchup every single time.
If Can Lee was getting beat by Shane Hollywood Hooks and Jair Shorter, I would be concerned. He's not. He's getting beat by probably potential first-round draft picks, and so the perspective
former
of
5
that,
stars, right?
And he will see that, and that's who he'll have to cover in SEC play. But still, I think he'll get his just as much as he gets gotten.
No, I mean we're at the point now, and you could say this for the receiver side of it too, going against the DBs. But with these corners going up against these wide receivers, I mean when Bama was doing their run, these guys would get to the league and be like, yeah, like games were easier than practice because they were going up against the best. Like when you talk about these corners who are holding their own against one of the best receiving corps in the SEC, probably top 3 receiving corps in the SEC, it's the kind of thing where you hope it's like, okay, a lot of people are hyping up Baylor and hyping up their quarterback, Sawyer Robertson, but their receivers aren't what they're playing every single day in practice. They're going to get a breath of fresh air when they say, oh, I don't have to cover Cam Coleman. Oh, I don't have to cover the giant Perry Thompson. I don't have to cover Horatio Fields. I get to cover, whatever Big 12 wide receiver. Let's go. Let's absolutely go to town right now. 100%. It's like that Geico commercial that runs on Christmas and the guy's putting the lights up on his roof and his neighbor comes out like, wow, looks like Geico's really got you covered. He's like a blanket. I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of blankets in the defensive backfield.
And keep in mind, they're having to cover these dudes with no pass rush. When the games start and you got to get rid of the ball in 3 seconds and Auburn's, if we get any kind of semblance of a pass rush, a lot different to being able to stand there and throw it in your own time. And have to maintain coverage.
Speaking of, how was it? Speaking of pass rush, how are we looking?
Hard to tell.
Hard to tell.
The defensive line dominated the O-line at pretty much every rep.
The running, there was no running lanes. I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, if Auburn's defense can stop the run.
Yeah. I mean, there's no Chaplin, there's no Lou. I don't think it means anything.
Yeah. Do you think, based off what you saw, do you think you have as good or better defense than you had last year? You have a defense that's going to be as good or maybe better than last year.
I think it's going to be better because I think they're going to not go through the growing pains of not being able to get off the field on 3rd and long. I don't think that's going to happen. And that, by default, with all the talent and all the things that they did from a maturation and growth process, I think it's going to be better.
Yeah, I need to see the pass rush. I need to see it. It looks good on paper, no question about it. I need to see it. I think losing J-Mac, like we're all assuming Keyron can be J-Mac. I think he will be, but I need to see it.
And we haven't seen Falk in the spring. I mean, we're
not worried about him though. Like we're not.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's going to make a difference. It's going to look a lot different when a future first round draft picks chasing down quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. But I mean, like, and all of them make sense. Like they need 2 more guys other than Keldrick, and I think they got him. One could be Keyron. Sure, I don't think that'd surprise anybody. One could be Chris Murray. Maybe. I don't know how they put all those guys on the field at the same time though. One could be Amaris Williams. I don't think that surprised anybody. I think Amaris is going to be better in the run game than the pass game, but we'll see. And then like we've heard things about Jared Smith, but he's a freshman. Haven't really heard anything about, Joe Phillips or Waller. So I don't know. We'll see.
I have a feeling one's coming. And
I'm there with you.
Because Hugh Freeze says things, when he says things, they're intentional and there are a lot of clues. And when he looked at whoever asked the question and said, you never turn down a pass rusher, an interior defensive lineman that you can get in the portal. To me, that was foreshadowing.
I think Auburn's going to land an interior defensive lineman. I think they're going to land a linebacker. I think they're going to land another edge rusher.
I 100% agree. I'll tell you guys offline why I think that too. So
I'm also hearing a wide receiver, which I don't fully get, but I've heard that they're going to be interested in a wide receiver that I don't fully get it, but I'll take it.
Portal's going to be interesting. It opens pretty soon. I don't know the exact date, but it's going to be here pretty quick.
Wednesday, the 16th.
The 16th.
Wednesday. And it's only 10 days, right?
Yep.
So not positive on that.
It's going to be very, very fast. So we'll see what happens. You've only lost one so far, Terrence Love. And honestly, mad respect for him because I thought he'd be gone in December. He wanted to give it one more shot, see where he fell, and he did. And I obviously wish.
I mean, he was such a bright spot.
Yeah,
and we somehow recruited over him. I mean,
it's crazy.
It's awesome stuff.
Guys, thank y'all for listening, joining in on the conversation, all the questions, comments, all that good stuff. Dap, tell them where they can find you. Go ahead.
Hold on, Zach's got something.
My bad.
Let's just take a second.
Yes.
Okay.
Auburn baseball.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Auburn baseball. I mean, just a battle every single game, sweeping LSU. It's the first time Auburn swept LSU since 1988.
Number 3 in the country.
I was not alive the last time Auburn did this.
LSU is number 3 in the country, right?
Yes.
They were.
They beat Alabama this week, who was ranked 11th. They beat Georgia Tech, who was ranked 18th, and they swept the Corn Dogs, who were ranked 3rd. And in 1988, I was alive. I was a sophomore in college. Let's go.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear Lindsey
and the softball team. I want to give them props. They took 2 or 3 against Georgia. And on a walk-off grand slam, for the love of God, today.
What else do you want? What else do you want?
I mean, come on, let's go.
So much winning.
Won the Masters, like
so
goodness gracious,
much
what a day!
So much winning. I can't. It's getting boring. There's so much winning. I'm kidding, guys. Thanks for listening. Dap, how can they find you, love you, and support you?
Dap 6410 on X, Wednesdays and Fridays with your guy Zach Blackerby, Locked on Auburn, wherever you get your podcasts.
thebarnauburn.com. Sign up today. You get $25 off if you sign up for an annual deal. Let's go.
Let's go. Guys, thanks for listening. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast, live edition. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening and drive home safely.